Hello everybody and welcome to the ECU ES Rumble. We are now getting into the semi-finals. We have Rum Filled Crusaders up against Dummy Thicc. Dummy Thicc's on the blue side, Rum Filled on the red side. I am your play-by-play for this evening, Adge, and I am joined by Prelaw on the color casting. How are you doing, Prelaw?
I'm doing pretty well tonight. I'm really excited to see this match. Both teams doing rather well throughout the Rumble.
Yeah, the Rumble has been going, well, relatively well for one of the teams at the very least. That, of course, being Dummy Thicc, which I believe are relatively undefeated. I think they may have only had one loss throughout the entire Rumble. Of course,
I do believe Rum Filled are actually in a similar situation, only having a few losses, but not... Dummy Thicc probably in the winning position here.
More than likely, we did just get through ban phase. Zed, Nico, and Xin Zhao coming from the blue side. Oriana, LeBlanc, and Tarek coming from the red side. And blue side picking up their first pick. It's going to be Morgana. Potential flex pick could go into that mid lane, but will probably end up going into the support role, if my predictions are correct, as we are now getting a red side pick.
The bans on blue side... being sort of broad. The Xin Zhao is definitely a targeted ban at Pale, who's been using that throughout the Rumble. But the Zed and Nico just seem to be, they want to get that mid laner shut down, so you can't just roam out and win the game for them. Ooh.
All right, it seems like we are going to have some issues. It wouldn't be an ECU Rumble without some kind of issue. It appears that the game was bugged for one of the players and could not pick or ban. Client-side issues are unfortunately a reality sometimes and just have to be dealt with, so we will get back into Champion Select. They will have to go through the same bans and the same first pick, though, and we will be doing that momentarily. Bit of a rough start, but a rough start is better than no start at all, eh?
Or a 10-minute late start at that.
Absolutely. I am curious to see what the majority of the team comps will in doubt be, but it's pretty hard to try and guess them at this current point in time, as we did really only see the bans in the first pick.
I do believe Dummy have a sub.
Dummy Thicc do indeed have a sub.
They have their ADC. Horny Vinter?
No, Horny Vinter is their jungle, I believe.
All right.
Yes, they have their subbed jungle being Horny Vinter, which was previously the top laner for Fast FF. And as I did say, we are going to have to see the same bans coming out from both teams in the same first pick before we can effectively resume Champion Select.
I'm not too familiar with the Dummy Thicc team. Is Oriana a selected ban here, or a targeted ban at their mid laner?
Oriana is a more or less targeted ban. Zorn is rather a well-rounded mid laner. He can play a good amount of things. And Oriana and LeBlanc being champions that are just inherently a very good pick for the mid lane.
Oriana definitely doing a lot more work in this very organized format.
Indeed, that is a possibility. We are now getting the final bans coming through now. They're getting them rather quick, as to be expected. Gonna have the Morgana picked up now in the first pick position. As soon as Whisper can find it, there it is. And we are now going to finally see what Fruitcake was looking to pick. I'm curious to see what it is. And it looks like he's really searching for that champion. Is
there possibly some squabbling in his team?
There is another
error.
issue. Okay, so his client is pretty well done, unfortunately. We are going to take a brief hiatus just until this issue is resolved. I believe Fruitcake may very well have to try and repair their client. Of course, this is a client issue, so you can't exactly blame the players. We will take a brief hiatus and we will be back momentarily. Alright, and welcome back. We are getting in, hopefully third time's the charm. Of course, we are seeing the same bands as before. We're going to see the same first pick, and hopefully we'll finally see the pick that Fruitcake has been wanting to pick, but the client just so desperately does not want him to have.
We're all just in anticipation here to see what Fruitcake really wants to play this game.
Absolutely, because it could very well be the pivotal pick for their team.
Fruitcake taking what role in their team?
Fruitcake is the mid laner for their team, Endless Riftlord being the top lane, Leviathan in the ADC, Jade is on support, and the Pale Marcher on jungle.
So Fruitcake's pick being extremely important to this team. They're most likely going to be playing around some big ultimate, or maybe they're just going to have an assassin and just force the game through picks.
Absolutely, and of course there is the first pick, Morgana for the blue side, picked up by Whisper. And will we finally see this pick? It is going to be a Hecarim coming through. More than likely a pick for Palamarcha or Pale.
Most likely a pick for Pale. Seeing that they found out his Xin Zhao, they're probably looking for some other jungler that can not force fights, but just deal a good amount of AD, as Xin did. Windles.
Yes, that would more or less be the case. Of course, there is the Cinderhulk buff, meaning that Tank Hecarim is, of course, always an option. Maokai, pretty much the staple pick for Endless Riftlord, getting picked up. As we're going to see Ezreal getting picked up for Whisper, another comfort pick for him coming.
A very good disengage bot lane right now.
Yes, Ezreal does have the ability to play rather safe. We are going to have Leviathan picking up his personal take on Lucian as well, while Crimson Jet was able to pick up Amumu for Horny Winter, Amumu being a rather good staple pick in the jungle as of right now with that Cinderhulk and with that Aftershock buff. Malphite being the first of the second ban phase coming out now, a rather interesting ban to say the least.
I believe they might be banning Malphite for a AD mid laner at this point, because they have AD jungle and, of course, an ADC, but they have Endless Riftlord on the tank. We might see. There's the Braum ban. It works excellently with Lucian. Quite straightforward ban there, and there goes Aatrox.
Aatrox, yes, has been seeing a lot of play lately at just pretty much all ends of the spectrum. So rather, again, a ban oriented towards just a generally good champion that they don't want Zorn to have opted for, or Crimson Jet opted for in that top or mid lane. And we're going to have the final ban coming through. It's going to be Zoe, just really hitting the nail in the coffin. They do not want Fruitcake on any of those fast mobile assassins, already banning out the Nico and Zed beforehand.
Out comes the Nami support pick. I don't know how well that's going to work with the Morgana Black Shield, but Black Shield has received a nerf recently. We're seeing
has
Shen.
Indeed received a nerf, and we're going to have the Shen picked up, more than likely going to be that top lane pick for Crimson Jet, as we will now finally get to see the pickup for Zorn in the mid lane, which could very well be their staple pick, considering he has more or less been the powerhouse for this team.
Currently looking at their team comp, they're rather divided. Morgana and Ezreal working as almost a disengaged poke, and Amumu Shen as engage. Although are we going to see the Xylos picked up? No, we're going to see the Rise.
We're going to have Rise picked up for Zorn in the mid lane, give him that intense wave clear and overall damage spike, and kiting potential towards that mid to late game, but of course he has to reach that mid to late game.
And even some general tankiness with Rise's current build of Archangel Staff Frozen Heart doing a lot of work.
Yes, that is an option, but I feel the full AP route is more or less more warranted, especially into a Kassadin, which will be the pickup for Fruitcake. Kassadin actually seeing a bit of a power spike towards that early game able to do a bit more outplay potential towards those other AP matchups.
Even with his advantage to AP, I do believe he got an armor buff recently.
Just a rather minute armor buff, yes. Not so much. Not so much a benefit into a rise, but nevertheless, armor is of course appreciated.
Looking at these comps currently, I don't see a game plan coming out from either team. We have what I don't want to say comfort picks, but just a few different just plans from each section of the teams.
Yeah, there does seem to be a bit of division, but also cohesion among both of the team comps. You have overall frontline tank coming from the Maokai and Hecarim on the red side, with that more supporty fire from the hip back line with the Lucian and Nami, and that more or less middle ground being the Kassadin, potentially to fill that mid gap between the two parties. While on the blue side, you of course have mass disengage and kiting with Morgana and Ezreal in that bot side, as well as just overwhelming shielding. It seems like it's going to be a really oriented peel composition coming out for the blue side here on Dummy Thicc.
Yes,
they have so much hard crowd control coming out from these picks.
I'd like to quickly preface it that it appears that blue side has very little AD threat, that Ezreal, not being a hybrid, but being their pretty much only source of AD.
Indeed, Ezreal does seem to be that main source of AD. However, with that being said, you don't necessarily need a vast array of damage sources if you're able to position yourself in an advantageous spot. Say if Ezreal is able to get ahead, he could easily opt to go for the Blade of the Rune King, giving him percentage health damage, almost nullifying the requirement for AD in an entirety.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the red side here, and the Kassadin Maokai pick being very much stronger with the two anti-AP threats into their comp.
Yeah, there is the potential for that as well. Kassadin having that innate magic resist would definitely prove beneficial into this matchup. But of course, I believe it is only 15 magic resist, so it's nothing to scoff at. But at the same time, it becomes rather irrelevant towards that later stages of the game, which they will be more or less opting for with the Kassadin on their side. But at the same time, you do have Zorn on that rise, another late game potential threat.
The ADCs both actually, well, pardon me. I do believe Lucian is a bit of a mid-game pick here. Getting his two item spike, pardon me, and Ezreal receiving nerfs to his double tier build, but still having quite a lot of strength behind a tier Gunblade build. I want to see how this matchup ends up.
Yeah, if I had to assume the matchup will more than definitely, especially in the bot side, rely on whether Sugarbell can land those dark bindings reliably, or on the counterpart, if J-Dizzle and Izzle is able to land some superb bubble traps on top of one of the two bot laners for Dummy Thicc.
Both the ADCs for the teams being hyper mobile too. It's going to make that very difficult for both sides.
Indeed it will, and so it will more or less, I feel the bot lane at the very least for the early stages will be which support can land their hard crowd control first or more reliably so that their ADC counterpart can get in there and deal out their damage. And of course, with that mid lane matchup as per se, Kassadin a bit better off towards the early stages, but of course as the game goes on, both the Rise and the Kassadin will become somewhat AP powerhouses.
I do believe we're going to see the Rise definitely spike a lot earlier than the Kassadin. But if they can get Fruitcake to that level 16, then that could be the turning point for this team if it comes down to them losing this.
Yeah, you do have, you did mention that the Rise potentially popping off before the Kassadin, but we can see that Thicc has opted for the Electrocute build, meaning he wants to start doing damage pretty much as soon as he reaches level 6, whereas Rise is more or less reliant on items rather than levels, where of course Kassadin tends to pop off around that level 6 mark, especially with this oriented playstyle. Looking into the jungle matchup, however, you can see that Pale Marcher has opted to go for the Flash Smite composition rather than Flash Ghost or Flash Ignite, meaning he does want to get those secure angles on those picks with the potential outplay on the dreaded charge, especially with the Conqueror.
Flash also being a very much safer option into a team with a lot of lockdown. Being a Hecarim in the middle of a fight and having Ghost, you're not getting out of that fight most of the time. But having Flash, you might just be able to get over a wall and basically keep yourself safe for those early levels until you can start really tanking up and becoming unkillable.
Absolutely. And of course, a Mumu opting for the Aftershock as to be expected. And both top laners, of course, going for their respective Grasp of the Undying, as to be expected from the Shen and from the Maokai. I feel like that's more or less going to be a bit of a wet noodle fight in that top side. Maokai just getting overwhelmingly tanky, and Shen just having so much shield and regen potential that any damage dealt to him is just going to be nullified.
We're definitely going to see these two come into play towards the skirmishes and team fights. I don't believe we're going to see much in the way of kills up there, as both junglers aren't going to have as much kill pressure as you would hope to in these matchups.
And we should be getting into game relatively shortly as we do a brief sync up here. All right, and we are now getting into game. As we can see, all respective teams moving towards that bottom side of the map to try and counteract any kind of early invade pressure, especially with the Ezreal, with the Kleptomancy, wanting to get some cheeky stacks off, potentially. Looks like they're going to opt to go just straight hiding in the Tribrush for now, though.
Yeah. We do see that neither teams have pushed for that Pixel Bush, being a lot less important with the delayed Rift Scuttle times. But still being an important ward to see invades. But it just seems like they're going to use themselves as wards in this situation.
Yeah, holding onto the wards to make sure that you've got that guaranteed early vision is always a respectable decision. You don't necessarily need to know where your opponents are at the very start of the game, as it can be, because at this level, it is rather safe to assume that they are at their respective bot side leashing area.
I would like to also note that this is Horny Vinter's first showing as a jungle in this Rumble, so we'll see how he performs.
Well, he has thankfully picked a rather simple staple jungle, so it shouldn't prove too difficult mechanically at the very least, and should still give somewhat of a decent output for his team that they need.
We're seeing very standard clears from both sides. We've got the Pale just doing what appears to be a full blue side, whereas we have Vinter just going straight buff, camp buff.
Yeah, an understandable decision. He wants to make sure he's in that top side before Pale Marcher reaches that side of the map to pressure Crimson Jet in that area, or the top scuttle just in general. As it's going to be a rather slow laning phase coming out in this matchup, I feel, unless there is some form of misplay from the lane's counterpart.
We are seeing a bit of pushing in from bot side, but besides that, the lane seems to be rather even. Lucian is taking some damage, but thankfully he has the Nami just to keep him topped up.
Yeah, that is indeed something to be factored in. The fact that
we might be seeing a gank mid here.
We could potentially see a gank here. He is currently hovering, but I feel like he's overstaying just a tad bit too much. He's better off more or less just opting to go and try and clear out some camps I feel like by now he should realize that it's just overstaying and nothing's going to happen. And of course, he's nowhere near in position to counteract this top lane gank, which fortunately for him isn't going to acquire much. They, however, did get the flash from Fruitcake in that mid lane, so very well done in that respect. But of course, he will now meet PrelawGerm in that top side, potentially. No, it looks like his top laner is going to help him ward off, thankfully.
Hale definitely being the more comfortable jungler in this situation. I do believe Vinter may have just been cold mid, or had just seen mid open and decided to try and go for it. We see him actually not clearing any camps, now at a level disadvantage to Pale.
Yeah, and especially with PrelawGerm securing those Krugs for himself, will continue to be at a deficit until he starts to get on top of his own farming. He himself has yet to take the Krugs, being the most valuable jungle camp. We are going to have a slight pause coming off here, as we believe that the ADC for Rum Filled is having some network issues, and we'll try to get that resolved as soon as possible.
If we could, there goes Leviathan. Yes. Hopefully he'll be back soon.
Yes, as I said, currently dealing with network issues, and it will hopefully be resolved as soon as possible. Meanwhile, let's take a look at these matchups and try and assess what's happening right now.
Towards the mid lane, from what I've been viewing, it seems to be just very back and forward. We had a bit of an earlier back from Kassadin, but he's managed to keep up. Of course, the Rise returning with the team being a very important buy for him, just to stack that up as soon as possible.
Tier definitely being a staple pick for the Rise, and he has opted to use the teleport to get back to lane, make sure he stays relatively even in experience and CS with Fruitcake. He definitely wants to try and get those levels ahead so he can more or less put some kind of pressure onto Fruitcake and not let him run amok. They were able to get the flash from Fruitcake earlier, so whether that comes into play when Fruitcake effectively gets a flash of his own at level 6, we'll find out.
Besides that, it seems to be in the top lane a sort of wet pool noodle fight. We are seeing some more damage onto Crimson Jet, but I don't know if that's just minion aggro from him walking up and trying to Q auto, or rather just retaining some of that damage from the Hecarim gank earlier.
I feel like it is more or less a bit of both. We did see a bit of a scuffed trade in that top side in the favor of Endless Riftlord there. Maokai does have a decent amount of damage output at level 1 to level 3, especially with, I believe it is called the Bramble Smash, pretty much already dealing above 100 damage at a level 2 and only costing 50 mana. It's a pretty decent trading tool potential, especially with that knockback. And of course, there is just the general trading heal on his Sap Magic passive, giving him pretty much a straight 60 heal at level.
I do hope to see the almost anti-tank nature of Shen come in handy a bit more with his empowered Qs, doing probably more damage than the Maokai's combo.
Yeah, there is the definite possibility for that, and we might just see that right now as the damage is coming through. The percentage health damage, very nice. Bubble does land on top of Whisper, but nothing's going to come of it. He is now out of mana and probably won't be able to stay into lane too much longer. Endless Riftlord out of mana probably doesn't want to put pressure too much into this lane, as he's more or less not going to be able to win out in further trades in this current state. Dragon is coming up now at around the 5-minute mark. It's going to be an Infernal, so definitely a Dragon that you want to pick up in the early game.
Hecarim appearing to hang bot side with that clear. He's definitely in the position to go for this.
Yeah, especially with Dummy Thicc's bot side backing off right now. This probably would be the best time to go for level 4. He doesn't have pots though, so might be a bit of a risky maneuver. Of course, if Nami were able to come over and assist, it would be definitely doable. but that doesn't look like it's going to happen. Actually, Horny Vinter pressuring the jungle might just find himself running into PrelawGerm, who is out of mana right now. Gonna opt to go back into the safety of the river, though.
We are seeing in the lane pressure, we're seeing that blue side definitely has been pushing in the red side bot, but Leviathan coming out with more farm and just coming out higher, just on top in this matchup so far, even with the extra poke being taken.
Yes, even with the extra poke being taken, indeed. Of course, we now have Fruitcake at that level 6 mark with the potential to roam and outplay, opting to try and stay in that mid lane, get his items, as he was forced to back early, as we mentioned. And he's going to try and get as much damage out as possible in the early stages before Rise more or less becomes unstoppable.
He's definitely looking to drop Zorn down low enough for hopefully a combo to kill him, if not for Pale Marcher to come in and help him finish off. But Zorn just playing extremely safe at this point, using his spells to last
a lot
hit.
of damage on the Sugar Bell. Horny Vinter going in, a lot of mana. Whisper going to Arcane Shift forward, but not really much coming of that gank from the lane coming from Horny Vinter there. We can see Pale Marcher holding off in the side of the river, waiting for the potential counter gank here, as we do have Horny Vinter coming in through the side, and we are having another fight here in the bot side. Leviathan taking a decent amount of damage from the Ezreal combo, but Sugarbell taking a lot of damage in turn. That's going to be a flash forward and actually a ignite from J Dizzle the Nizzle, but nothing else really covered. That flash coming in handy from Palamarcha, able to flash forward out of range of the turret, but also just not within range of the Amumu, and that is going to be Leviathan dashing forward and able to secure a very nice kill onto Sugarbell, almost getting the kill on Whisper as well, if not for the ultimate from Crimson Jet there, who has now found himself in the bot side with not much to do. And well, he is going to opt to stick around and stay for the CS, try and get Whisper to that level 6 margin more or less. As we did have Endless Riftlord teleport to that top side, and he will more than likely get a couple plating, as it was a decent sized wave in that top side. He is going to opt to try and get the turret plating, as he should with Crimson Jet. He does have his own teleport available, but he's actually opting to stay in the bot side for some reason. There's no pressure being put there by the side of Rum Filled, so it's almost unwarranted.
We had a little bit of what appeared to be a roam from Kassadin, but he seemed to be just picking up the honey fruit and then returning to lane. Not really making any pressure along the map. Neither mid laner has, in fact.
Well, man likes his honey fruit. I can't really fault him for that. But yeah, more or less, the important factor is the mid lane has still gone relatively evenly, aside from a minor CS deficit in the side of Zorn. It's more so going to be oriented towards this bot lane matchup. If Leviathan and J Dizzle can continue to push this advantage that they've secured, that could prove useful to their mid lane, more so than the Kassadin getting ahead, who will eventually become the powerhouse that he needs to be.
We did see Endless pop into mid a few seconds, the bush being unwarded until Zorn dropped his red ward in there. Something may have come of that.
Taking a lot of damage. Culling will go down and kill him off. Leviathan securing himself another kill, as I said. They're going to be able to push this advantage very nicely done. In fact, they're going to go for the Infernal Drake now, knowing that the ADC has gone down. And that could very well be another kill picked up, as Leviathan is going to keep on going. He has the heal for the movement speed. Whether or not he'll use it, I don't think he will. The Dark Binding ceases his advance. Meanwhile, they really want to try and secure this Infernal Drake. But the pressure from Zorn might just put a stop to that.
Pale pushing up. We see that blue team does in fact have vision on this. but red team having no vision on the blue side.
They are going to make the safe call and opt not to go for it. Fruitcake actually blind jump over the wall. Will find himself face to face with Zorn. The heal actually saving his life. Fruitcake will barely walk away. And this might be another pickup kill here for Leviathan. Pale Marcher will be chasing down the Zorn, but the shield will prove too much for him. And in fact, Whisper is going to come through and pick himself up a return kill onto Leviathan after Horny Vinter was able to keep him locked down. Endless Riftfold ultimate coming through will lock down Crimson Jet, but won't secure the kill. That may very well be first Dragon Infernal Drake going over to Dummy Thicc.
We are seeing. Actually, I don't know if they can they secure this in time.
It might look to try and go for the steal here. He is on top of Horny Vinter, but he's secure, and he will actually go down to Whisper as well. Bit of a misplay on Fruitcake's half. Unfortunate for him. He tried. It was definitely there, the potential for it. In fact, Horny Vinter only just being able to smite it. The potential for the steal was there, but unfortunately just not able to grasp it.
If we looking at the item builds currently, we're seeing very even in everything but what appears to be jungle and mid, most likely. We're seeing an Archangel's staff already on Rise, but no Rod on Kassadin yet.
Yeah, that is a definite thing to notice. The advantage that Zorn has been able to build himself up just in the CS lead alone. He was able to pick himself up one kill eventually in that scuffle in the jungle onto Pale Marcher, but that was about it. Fruitcake was able to secure a kill of his own as well eventually, but whether or not that will come to be some form of advantage, we will have to see as the game progresses. Zorn, of course, on the rise, now starting to hurt a bit with those EQ combos.
Just quickly noting the builds, we see that on the jungle side of things, we see Vinter going for a very standard complete jungle item into other utility items, but Pale seems to be having another idea, rushing into that Trinity before even finishing Smite upgrade.
Yeah, a bit of an overstep in that top side. They're not really going to be able to get much. A bit of a wasted potential ganking top side, especially into this double tank matchup that just are superb at blocking out damage. Leviathan going to secure himself another kill. Might get a second here onto Sugarbell. Does dash out and will dash back in, but Sugarbell will flash out just in the nick of time. Amuma comes over, Bandage Toss will not connect, and they will walk away with securing another kill onto Whisper.
This bot lane definitely going towards red team here. The slow from that Blade of the Ruin King just really helping them to secure that kill.
Yeah, absolutely. Blade of the Ruin King proving incredibly useful on the Lucian. I'm curious to see what the second item he opts for will be. I'm going to assume some form of Essence Reaver of sorts, just to give that damage potential as well as the critical strike chance and the mana regen, and as well as the additional cooldown reduction, definitely useful on top of Lucian.
I think we might be seeing something a bit safer and maybe a Black Cleaver to really deal with the two tanks that's going to threaten him in team fights.
Yeah, that is definitely something to consider. However, Horny Vinter able to land the Curse of the Sad Mummy on top of Pale Marcher, allowing the Ezreal to connect with impunity, and that is going to be the kill secured by Horny Vinter there through the Tantrum. And Pale Marcher not enjoying the Hecarim. Hecarim is more or less a bit of a make it or break it jungle champion. You either do incredibly well in the early game or just nothing. You're not completely irrelevant for pretty much the majority of the game until you reach those item power spikes.
Definitely. And more so with Pale Marcher's build being, well, I think to be a Trinity, maybe a warrior build-up rather than a tanky build-up. He's definitely looking to not be the carry for his team, but definitely be a threat.
Now, we are going to have another pause coming through here. Unsure of what the issue was there.
It appears to be something on red side.
Yeah, it does appear to be the case. And there is a 10-minute pause time for each team. So this has already been, so far, all 4 minutes and 10 seconds has been for the red side. So they only have about 5.5 minutes left of pause time available. So I'm not sure if they can keep on, if they can keep affording to continue pausing like this in this game. It seemed to be something on Fruitcake's side. He does appear to be back and will be unpausing in a moment.
Looking at Zon's message, it might be that they have 5 minutes of pause time each. Reporting that they only had 50 seconds of pause time left, not 5 minutes and 50 seconds.
The tournament standard is 10 minutes per team. I'll have to check up on that. Of course, as I said, we should be getting into the game any moment now. Looking at the objective control currently happening, 14 minutes in, 6 minutes left for that Rift Herald potential usage. 1 Infernal Drake secured, 0 towers so far. Platings have gone down.
Although towers are in the favor of a red team here, with a mid and bot tower taking heavy damage. But although they have secured a red dragon on blue side, which will come in handy so much in these team fights and even in pushes.
It definitely will, and speaking of objective control, Mountain Drake will be the next one on the list. Definitely good to help push those turrets and secure those neutral monster objectives with that percentage true damage in addition to their regular damage.
We are seeing Zon taking that CS lead and just pushing it even further now.
Endless Riftlord desperately wants to proc his Demolish on this top lane turret, but Crimson Jet is just trying his absolute best to deny him from landing that auto attack. He is going to opt to back away now, and he won't be able to defend it if he does back away, so he's more or less forced to stay. Leviathan, doing a lot of damage, will not take out Sugarbell, but that is the teleport from Crimson Jet. He doesn't have teleport to get back the lane, so Endless Riftlord can very well get that top lane turret secured. Meanwhile, there is a fight happening here in the bottom side of the river. Jada's Lizard will go down to Zorn, but Pale Marcher is on top of Whisper and will not get him. But Fruitcake is here, and with the Rift walks, he is going to be able to get on top of them. Zorn gets himself a double kill onto Pale Marcher, but Fruitcake is still here, and he does deal damage, but so does Zorn, more or less acting as a bodyguard for Whisper here, trying to keep him under the tower and safe. Fruitcake will opt to jump over the wall towards Horny Vinter, who does have Banish Toss available and will look to use it. No, he's not going to opt for it just yet. But as I said, that is first turret going, and Banish Toss is eventually used onto Fruitcake, but that is a lot of damage, and he's actually flashing away. A bit of a misplay coming from Horny Vinter. And continuing on, there is that first turret secured for the red side in the top side, so more or less in favor. 2 kills going either way for both teams. Mountain Drake is now up, but it does look like Pale Marcher will opt to try and get towards that top side and maybe look to secure the Rift Herald for his team.
We can definitely see the advantage towards red team in the gold, having an almost 2k lead on them, coming from mostly farm and objectives, it would seem.
Yes, that would be the case, as they do offer a good amount of gold, and it will look like they're going to opt towards to try and rush down this Mountain Drake. We do have some members of Dummy Thicc trying to contest it. Horny Vinter is there, Banish Toss is there, teleport coming in from Crimson Jet. It cannot be cancelled, so he may very well be in a bit of danger. He actually goes over the wall, and Endless Riftlord goes with him, and the rest of Rum Filled are in the Dragon Pit, and they can't get over. They don't want to follow. So Endless Riftlord is eventually forced to flash back into the Dragon Pit, and nothing else is going to come of that. Mountain Drake does go over to their side, though, so a definite worth pickup for them. If we mid lane with Pale Marcher, they are going to engage onto Zorn. Spear does land. There's a lot of damage coming through. Leviathan flash forward. He's going to be able to secure the kill for himself, and there's been going to be Crimson Jet going down as well to Fruitcake. Things are very much so looking in favor of Rum Filled Crusaders. They may very well opt to take the Rift Herald with Endless Rift Lord and Pale Marcher.
Rum just pushing that advantage in gold so much further by sticking together as 5 and making sure that they don't have to divide. They didn't divide their gold up like Dummy Thicc did, with the bot lane staying bot and jungle not approaching. We just had an absolute massacre in the mid.
Absolutely, and we'll have Pale Marcher securing that Rift Herald for his team. Going to hold on to that, potentially use the siege that mid lane and take that outer turret that's there as the one in bot side falls. Leviathan getting some more gold in his coin purse will definitely want to back and secure that item. It will more likely be the Essence Reaver I talked about before, as he has picked up the pickaxe. Actually, it could potentially just be a flat armor pen item. It could be Lord Dominic straight up.
That is a very good possibility. I don't see why you would be taking that right now.
I don't know why he'd be taking it either. Yeah, it is going to be the Essence Reaver.
Wishing to push his...
Taking a lot of damage. Fruitcake as well, being able to deal it. True Shot Barrage will not connect, but Horny Winter is there, lands the Bandage Rush and the Curse of Sad Mummy. Endless Rift Lord is getting hunted down. The Blue Smite will slow him down, and the Crimson Jet will land the taunt and secure the kill for himself. A bit of a pickup for Dummy Thicc, and they will look to try and pressure this mid lane turret, which is barely standing up. This is looking out to be a game that could very well go either way. Pale Marcher finally able to build that Trinity Force, so he will start to deal a bit more damage. What are you currently looking at? What is the strength for Dummy Thicc right now, aside from Zorn right now?
Well, that's just the thing. If we look at the CS leads, we see that Zorn is raking in most of the team's gold, followed by actually Horny Winter on the Amumu, whereas on red side, we're seeing the gold much more spread out in this case.
And we are going to have another pause coming through by the looks of it. It appears there has been a connection issue for Leviathan. Leviathan goes down, and the pause is not going to go through. Leviathan has just had a connection issue, and the game is not paused. Looks like blue side are going to try and secure the bottom lane turret, while red pressure the mid lane with the Rift Herald. Potentially, there's no minion wave, so probably a risky call as the Dark Binding. It doesn't interrupt it, but it would definitely give an opening for any crowd control to interrupt.
Yet again, we're seeing the Rum Filled Crusader, not strategy, but we're seeing them group a lot more beforehand and forcing Dummy Thicc to group, where they are definitely weaker. With all these big team fight comps big team fight ults, on both sides, in fact, but a lot more on Rumfield.
I beg to differ that Dummy Thiccs aren't good when they are grouped. In fact, I'd say that is when they are best, as they have that real dogpile team comp where everyone just dives onto at least a majority of the targets and just crowd controls the hell out of them, dealing damage as they do. While as Rumfield has more or less been focusing on singling out one or two members of Dummy Thiccs and then dogpiling on them respectively, rather than going for the full-on group 5v5 fights that you're trying to talk about.
I was speaking more of the manner that where we see
more than come of it. In that mid lane, Whisper was forced to Arcane Shift away, otherwise he was going to take a lot of damage from Leviathan. Rift Herald just to damn near ending its time frame. Pale Marcher will have to use it eventually. Gonna more than likely opt to use it in this mid lane to secure that outer turret as per mentioned. And they are going to do that, in fact. It will be using that mid lane, and it will more than likely secure the turret, as I believe that is going to be a clean hit while they opt to go for this dragon as it's coming up to second Mountain Drake. So they definitely want to try and pick this up for the objective control, which is more or less paramount in this state of the game.
They're blue team here putting up no resistance, except for that rise, Ez ult that nearly stole it, in fact. But
I feel like the Ezreal ult, it was it was definitely the potential there to do it. Horny Vinter actually vanished toss, flashed forward, Curse of Sad Mummy onto Leviathan, will secure a kill. This is actually a very nice team fight for Dummy Thicc right here. They're able to get the bot lane destroyed, and they may look to try and push out this mid lane turret now, with only 3 members left on Rum Filled side.
Zorn creating that pressure on top before roaming down mid and helping that team fight. That's definitely going to come in later. With the tower is definitely going towards blue side now, but the drag's going to red, an inversion of what we saw in the earlier game.
Yeah, and there is going to be a bit of a scuffle. Endless River taking a lot of damage and overstepping. He will go down eventually. Dark Binding does connect onto Fruitcake, but nobody else is there to follow up. He will be able to rip away, and that's going to be 2 turrets going down in the mid lane for Dummy Thicc. A lot of damage getting dealt down to Pale Marja, and Leviathan actually gets bandage tossed again and takes so much damage. Zorn flashes forward and is going to be able to EQ combo him, but he's only also going to get bubbled under the tower, and that's a lot of damage going down onto Jade Diswolf, who's going to go down to Whisper. And Fruitcake flashes forward, isn't able to get anything. Whisper kills at him as well, and that is going to be the inhibitor turret probably going down. Pale Marja goes in, gets hit by Dark Binding, and surprise, surprise, he is also dead.
This might just be the end at this point.
I very much doubt it will be the end of the game itself, but it definitely does not look good for the side of Rum Filled, considering they seem to be trickling in to try and defend it in their own base.
I mean, even on the objective front here, we're having pretty much double the kills and a 6k gold lead onto the blue team. It's going to take a lot of work to bring this back, I think, especially because the objectives are now very much out of the safe place to get.
Yeah, having to overextend out of your base when you don't have any preliminary defenses is definitely a risky thing to do, but it's more or less a make it or break it situation for teams that are in this state, as they either have to risk losing a couple of turrets or some health on the turrets of their Nexus to super minions, or risk losing the objective, which could more or less just be the end of the game.
We are seeing just general vision being set up around Baron, but I think that's just making sure that they don't make sure red team doesn't try and sneak it while blue's pushing.
Pale Marja gets caught out by Zorn, phase rushes Brock, but he won't be able to continue chasing too much, as there's a bit of a vision wall going over Baron, as to be expected at this stage in the game. Rise actually with a righteous glory for that chase potential. Procs on himself, and Pale Marja will be able to get away though, as there's more or less just a bit of a scuffled defense for this bot lane turret, which will go down eventually, especially with the Ezreal present there. And there's not really much that Rum Filled can do to stop this push from happening. There's a good amount of minions, but they are going to opt to back away on the side of Dummy Thicc, as it might just be a bit too much to pressure.
We are seeing the team almost divided, as it's taking a lot of them to get through these super minions, and it just lets blue team just walk around and take what they want.
Yeah, it definitely does give the side of Dummy Thicc plenty of leeway to maneuver around the map, as they are currently sitting on Baron. It will get spotted out by Pale Marja though on the side of Rum Filled, as Whisper does dash over the wall to try and use the blast cone to deny Pale Marja from using it, as he will try to get into the Baron pit. He will get locked out though and get taken down. Maokai ultimate trying to slow any kind of counter attack from the side of Dummy Thicc. But overall, it just seems like that Dummy Thicc have this game in the bag. They have Baron, it's 27 minutes, and they already have the mid lane inhibitor down, and have pretty much forced Rum Filled into their own base, and even then, that doesn't look as safe.
Definitely looking at the gold leads between the team, and even just the item builds at this point, you can definitely see the advantage into Dummy Thicc. The jungler winning, the mid lane winning, and even at this point, the bottom lane winning, even off that little stumble in the early game.
Yeah, and of course there was an engage by Horny Vinter. He was able to land on top of the backline, but there's actually a surprising amount of damage coming from Leviathan. He will of course have to run away as Zorn is just too powerful, as is pretty much everyone on the side of Dummy Thicc. And the damage just will land onto J Dizzle, forcing the flash away. Sugar Bell not in range to use any of the dark bindings that they have available, and it will be the second inhibitor going down. Fruitcake is on the flank to try and potentially get a pick onto Zorn or Whisper. Meanwhile, they're pressing the Nexus turrets. They need to try and push some kind of defense here on the side of Rum Filled, but it doesn't look like they're just going to do anything. Zorn is moving forward and unable to get the lockdown on top of Fruitcake. Meanwhile, Leviathan dives in and will get bursted down. Sugar Bell actually picking up the kill there. Meanwhile, Pale Marcher flashes forward and will be able to pick up the kill onto Whisper, but that is all she wrote, and that will be the game going in the side of Rum Filled Crusaders, as they are able to get the final hits on the Nexus. Game 1 going the side of Rum Filled Crusaders. Oh, sorry, going the side of Dummy Thicc. Oh my God. Hello everybody and welcome back as we are getting into Game 2 of the ECU ES semi-finals between Dummy Thicc on the red side and Rum Filled Crusaders on the blue side. We're getting into the first ban phase now. Amumu from the blue side, Zinzao from the red side. I'm Aj, the play-by-play, and I'm here with Prelaw on the colorcaster. How are you feeling about this game, Prelaw?
I'm definitely fascinated to see how a best of 3 will affect these two teams' picks and ban. It's very rare. Oh, pardon.
No, it's all right. Yeah, that is a definite thing to factor in, people wanting to ban away things that worked for the team in the previous game. We can already see that with the Amumu being banned did allow a lot of pressure to be put out from Horny Vinter in that jungle position, as we're going to see more or less the same bans coming out from the side of Dummy Thicc, being the Zinzao, the Nico, and the Zed, while also seeing the Turek and the Malphite being banned away from the side of Rum Filled Crusaders. Interesting bans to see.
Perhaps within previous matches they've had either trouble with these two, or it's really just something that the players are not comfortable playing into. We do see the Rise coming out again from Fruitcake.
Yeah, Rise on the Fruitcake, as you said. Fruitcake wanting to pick it up for himself and not let it fall into the hands of Zorn again. Of course, there is the potential for it to be a flex pick, but considering Endless Riftlord's repertoire, I doubt that will be the case, as it will more than likely be another Maokai pickup for him. It does tend to work, more or less. It's going to be a Shen picked up for Crimson Jet in that top side yet again. It did work out for him as well.
We are seeing very similar picks coming out right now. We have the Shen and the Morgana. I don't believe that. Oh, we're going to see the same matchup in the top lane again.
Yeah, we will absolutely see the same matchup in the top lane again, and we might just see the same matchup in the bot lane as well, as Lucian, picked up by Leviathan yet again, did perform reasonably well, did have a couple of technical issues, which unfortunately could not be avoided. But nevertheless, hopefully he can avoid those this game and perform well, as we do see, again, same matchup for the bot side, Morgana and Ezreal on the side of Dummy Thicc.
Working extremely well last game. Not so much in the start, but I do believe they may now be almost warmed up in the bot lane and understand their movements, land a bit more skill shots.
Now, I am making sure that the broadcast is going as swimmingly as possible, and I don't mean to bag out our broadcaster, but there is a slight issue with the Dummy Thicc being on the red side and blue side right now. Which we do apologize for. It is a new overlay system that we are getting used to. We are in the second ban phase now, with Cassidy being banned away, not wanting Zorn to get that for himself, I guess, with Braum and Udyr getting banned away. Surprised about the Udyr ban, especially considering they have a Morgana in their lineup, which is pretty much just a direct suppressant of Udyr, more or less.
I definitely feel like it's almost like a targeted ban at this point. Pale is has been playing a lot of Udyr for a very long time. He probably feels very comfortable on it, and he probably won't be picking Hecarim again. Saying that, he might, but Udyr doing a lot of work in solo queue too. Just so much damage and a reasonable tankiness.
Udyr may very well be a decent pick in solo queue, but in a 5v5 matchup, he is incredibly easy to kite and outplay, especially, as I said, with a pick like the Morgana or with a pick like the Ezreal. We will see Sejuani opted for in the jungle by Horny Vinter, and JDizzle and Nizzle picking up Brand, so we will see a bit of something different in that bot side matchup. With Kayn.
I have been seeing Pale playing Kayn a lot more often, but he has not pulled it out in one of these rumbles yet. I'm wondering if we're going to see a red Kayn and them going to just peel for Leviathan as much as possible, or if it's going to come down to he's going blue, he's going in.
Yeah, absolutely. And more than likely be wanting to opt for red Kayn in this matchup, as blue Kayn, if he gets caught out, will more than likely be a death sentence, especially with Zorn picking up the Lux with that laser burst precision, as we do have the final pick locked in for this game. A very interesting lineup on both teams, more or less. A more centric, focused lineup on the side of Rum Filled, on the blue side. Whereas Dummy Thicc are on the red side.
As just looking through the blue side right now, it appears that we're going to see a lot more possibly ganks coming from Pale. I don't know if he's going to still want to farm up and then just try late game, or if they're going to try and go for a bit of early game. Here we are going to see Vinter on the Sejuani, which I want to see how he does, seeing that Sejuani is definitely a more complicated jungler.
Yeah, Sejuani isn't exactly a complicated jungler. It's more go in, and then when somebody's thing is highlighted, press E. And then and occasionally press R.
Yes.
So it's not so much complicated. It is just a straightforward tank jungler, but an effective one, just like the Amumu, which was banned away. I am very keen to watch how this bot lane matchup plays out again. As we did see, Leviathan was more or less able to pop up in the 2v2 matchup with the support of JDizzle Nizzle, but with a more aggressive pick this time, maybe they're able to secure more kills more frequently.
It may also just be a case of last time they tried for an ADC and a Enchanter support to just get in and allow Leviathan to do damage. It may be just this time they want JDizzle to just stand in a bush and make sure that they can't even approach the minion wave. Just get as much free farm as possible.
Yeah, there is the potential for that. Of course, we now have to look at the mid lane matchup with the Fruitcake and Zorn matchup with Ryze picked up by Fruitcake and Lux picked up by Zorn. Could be a very interesting matchup. We can see that Fruitcake is oriented for cleanse on the Ryze to dip out of the hard crown control on the lineup from Dummy Thicc, whereas Zorn has more or less opted for the teleport to be able to stay in lane more frequently or get to those bot side early when he's needed.
I do believe Zorn is planning to get, almost not planning, but definitely sees that he will most likely be poked out. I'm seeing a lot more Lux take Ignite, just to stay aggressive, but I don't think he's going to find any sort of picks. And so he's opted for the more obvious choice of teleport.
Yeah, the obvious choice of teleport, of course, especially being in the top side with Endless Riftlord and Crimson Jet. JDizzle is opting for Ignite, whereas Sugarbell has opted for Exhaust, of course, to be understandable in the aggressive matchup that Rum Filled Crusaders have in that bot side. What do you think will be the important factors for this game, Prelaw?
As before, I feel like just an early farm advantage will definitely start leading either way. The bot lane 2 being very important in this, not death bowl, but very much having a clear front line, back line. The ADCs will become very important parts of the team comps.
Indeed, ADCs, of course, always being an integral part of any team's composition. I feel like what will more or less be the deciding factor for this game may very well be the jungle to mid lane matchup, as we did see Kane, which kind of like Hecarim is, again, a bit of a you either make it or you just break it. With Kane, he needs to be able to be in a favorable position where he can reliably deal damage or soak it. He is taking Conqueror, so he has opted for the more or less Red Kane build style. So he will be opting to get those early trades onto Horny Winter or onto Crimson Jet to try and get those red stacks on top of him.
I do see the Kane being almost like a safer version of Hecarim. He's very much, you need to get kills early, but he's not completely dead in the water if you don't.
He's not completely dead in the water, that is true, but he is more or less on the side of useless, as Kane is that champion that you want to be able to disrupt the backline by getting on top of them so quickly. Dive into the backline, deal some damage, ult into someone to cause them to not have a target to all dogpile on top of, while the rest of your team comes in, ult out, and then continue to disrupt now with your team there to support you, or more or less that is the case. Of course, we do have the mid lane matchup with the Ryze and Lux, which could more or less go either way. Lux could potentially get an early lane advantage, did opt for the Arcane Comet for increased trading potential, but of course, Ryze being Ryze, if he's able to farm up or get a kill advantage, he could very well control the pace of the game on his own.
The Zorn here on the Lux, the Arcane Comet pick definitely showing what playstyle he wants to be taking. Winning these trades early and then taking an artillery role rather than more of a burst role.
Yeah, there is the potential for that. Ryze may very well need to look for some kind of survivability against the Lux or against just getting hit by a Dark Binding, which is why he has opted for the cleanse to be able to get out of any kind of snare or crowd control. So a very smart decision on his part. And we'll see if it pays off as we're getting into the game. And with this bot lane matchup, as I mentioned prior, last game it was more or less in favor of Rum Filled in the early stages. So let's see if they can continue to keep that early pacing advantage and being able to capitalize on the misplays of Whisper and Sugarbell in this next game.
I feel like the brand support here picked for that very reason, being able to follow up with even more damage and relatively the same amount of CC when it comes to the early skirmishes.
Yeah, the early skirmishes, especially from the brand, can prove rather lethal with that percentage health magic damage in his innate abilities, as well as with the auto attack spam reset, especially with the press the attack on the Lucian, could definitely spell a easy burst potential on the side of Rum Filled Crusaders in that bot lane. So I am very eager to see how these matchups play out as we are now just starting to get into game. And we will do a brief sync up to make sure we can all see the same thing at the same time, more or less. Looking at the objectives, it will be a Cloud Drake coming up first. Could be a very potential pickup, a useful pickup for the side of, I'd say it's more inclined of favor of the Rum Filled Crusaders, especially with the Ryze opting to take Phase Rush on his Keystone Mastery, as we are now more or less paused at 20-second mark, and we are looking to get into game as soon as we are all synced up. All right, and we are now getting into game. It is underway. Teams are moving to get some vision of the river on their respective sides. Seen some early pressure coming out in the Pixel Brush from Crimson Jet, but Fruitcake will land the W and get a little bit of early trade out, but nothing really that will cause any stress for Crimson Jet.
That first Drake being Cloud is rather important, as although Drakes are valuable on both teams, we're definitely going to see a lot more value on a Rum's side with being able to just disengage from them. Or even just roam, in fact.
Yeah, there is definite potential in that. Zone using his, I believe it's Lucent Singularity to scout out the initial parts of Rum Filled Crusaders jungle, see if he can get a cheeky trade off. Of course, level 1 abilities, not really going to do too much on their own unless they've got other level 1 abilities to back them up.
We are seeing Pale doing a leashless start on the Raptors, allowing his support and ADC to possibly ambush them, but I don't believe anything would come from them taking the safer route into lane.
Yeah, they did try and go for a bit of an early ambush in that river, but the side of Dummy Thicc opted to go back through the lane. Obviously the safer choice and the smarter choice in this instance.
I do believe Pale is yet again opting for closer to a full clear here, clearing the whole bottom red side. That's going to give him a lot of gold and a lot of experience.
Absolutely. Krug's definitely overlooked by a good amount of here jungles. They are by far the best camp to consistently farm in the early game to get that gold advantage, to get that level advantage, especially over your counterpart jungle, as well as being able to focus the lane that's sided on, which he is doing right now. He's currently hovering in the bush, level 3, because of the Krugs. He may very well look to try and get an early gank off here. He's opting to back out and continue farming, though.
We are seeing what appears to be a full clear from Vinter, but he has got to back, not staying as healthy as you would want to in this first clear. He is going to try go for Raptors.
He is going to opt to try go for Raptors, but that is going to be Zorn being locked up, and a lot of damage coming through. The shield will barely keep him alive. Fruitcake actually flashes forward and will get first blood, but that's a return kill from Zorn. Double flashes is exhausted in both the mid laners. No flash used by Palemarcher though, thankfully, so he will have that up again for the next gank, potentially teleport being used by Zorn.
Zorn definitely looking, even after dying, to not lose any advantage. Staying using that teleport to its full effect and then just getting as much farm as possible.
Yeah, no, definitely. As it was stated, he opted for the teleport to be able to stay consistent in CS and levels, to not let Fruitcake get too out of control early on. Some good trades coming out from the bot side of Rum Filled, as we are going to see Pale March coming through a gank, but there's also a gank happening in Vinter through. Pale March is going to get on top of Sugarbell. Black Shield already used, will force the flash away. Meanwhile, Fruitcake is getting chased into his own jungle. They will opt to back away though, and nothing else will come of it.
Nothing much coming from safety. Nothing much coming from either gank there. Just sort of holding up pressure.
Yeah, definitely holding up pressure, forcing Fruitcake off of the minion waves, but Zorn also more or less denying his own CS and experience there. Aimless Riftlord taking a fair amount of damage here, Grasp doing some work, as well as the passive damage on the Shen Q, able to shred Maokai in the early stages, more or less. Whisper taking a lot of damage. The stun will connect from the brand. That's going to be Whisper going down to the Leviathan. As I said, Rum Filled are able to push that early game prowess that they have in the bot side, and it's starting to look pretty nicely in their favor now.
We do see Vinter in top blue side jungle. I don't know if he's looking for something specific, or he might be around to stop this game. We might see a 2v2 up here.
Yeah, he's definitely looking for something. Riftlord did do a decent amount of damage, but Crimson will be able to get out just in time before Palemarch is able to do anything. Horny Vinter's here now. He's going to be able to give Palemarch the red buff stack, so the red cane form stacks that he wants, thankfully. And Fruitcake did rotate up. He was spotted by the river, so nothing else will come of that top side scuffle.
we did see Zorn potentially losing even more CS there by roaming up and wanting to assist in that skirmish.
I believe that was Fruitcake roaming up, but yes, without a doubt, that is definitely something to factor in. The roam did not pay off for Fruitcake there. He does not have teleport, unlike Zorn, so any roams that he does, especially in the early stages where his ultimate is either not available or does not have sufficient range, will definitely cost him something.
We are seeing Zorn playing fully into that teleport playstyle by using his ult just to clear a wave.
Yeah, able to clear the wave so there's no pressure on his turret, no minion wave crashing, which means by the time he gets back into lane, he'll be able to reliably continue farming, as Fruitcake will likely not be able to shove the wave quick enough before he gets back there. You can already see he's pretty much already back into his own lane, and will continue to push that CS and level advantage he more or less has over Fruitcake.
We are seeing a very, very close game so far. We have a tiny bit of gold advantage onto Rum Filled, but that's pretty much
Fruitcake rotating down. He's level 6. He's looking to try and get some pressure onto this bot side. Arcane Shift away. Black Shield has been used, and that is a stun. Sugar Bell. Fruitcake actually is going to almost leave Sugar Bell alive, but Leviathan deciding he doesn't want Crimson Jet down the bot lane for an extra kill, and they will kill Sugar Bell off.
We're seeing a Zorn coming down, in fact. We might see something happening in the red side jungle.
Yeah, Horny Vent is really low, and he gets caught out by Rise. On Fruitcake will secure the kill with the Scorch damage coming through just barely. Leviathan is now here to secure another kill onto Whisper, but no, it's going to go over to Fruitcake. Meanwhile, Zorn's getting caught out in his own mid lane. Flash forward from Pale Launcher to make sure the snare does not hit, and he's going to be able to secure the kill for himself. Everything is just coming up Millhouse for the side of Rum Filled Crusaders here, and they're going to look to hit the Cloud Drake.
They definitely have decided that they're not going to lose this best of 3 by a 2-0. They want this.
Yeah, we could very well go into game 3 like this. Is this the potential upset for Dummy Thicc here?
We are seeing 3-1 onto the Fruitcake and a 2-0 onto Leviathan, with very little on the side of Dummy Thicc.
It could definitely be done, but have to hold on to your graces for now, as the game could very well still go either way. Zorn still has that potential burst on the Lux, and there is the kiting potential on the Ezreal from Whisper. But as the game is progressing, and if Rum Filled Crusaders are able to maintain the lead they've now acquired, it's just going to get a bit harder and harder for Dummy Thicc to be able to do that.
Looking towards objectives quickly, we basically only have Cloud Drake onto Rum Filled, and actually no, we have 2 plate spot lane going to them too. Not much on the way of pressure in other lanes though.
Yeah, 9 minutes in, there's not going to be too many objectives taken. Hell, even taking a dragon this early is only really warranted if you've got the clear opportunity to do so, which Rum Filled did have. And it looks like there may be a bit of a run coming out from Zorn towards that bot side. He is spotted out by a ward, though, and will attempt to clear it. Fruitcake is there to try and fight him off, but there's a gank happening in top side as well. Crimson Jet might be getting caught out here. He does have Flash available, so he could very well get out of the situation. Ultimate available on Endless Riftlord as well. Could be used to finish him off. No, they're just going to both flash forward or dash forward as well. Meanwhile, Leviathan actually getting caught out here by the trio here in the bot side. And that's going to be a return kill going over to Whisper. The Dream is not dead yet for Dummy Thicc.
Jay Dizzle being out of position there definitely didn't help with that dive.
Absolutely did not help with that dive. Teleport being used from Crimson Jet to try and save his tower, but they weren't able to get any return plating in the bot side, on the side of Dummy Thicc. So Leviathan hasn't lost too much in terms of his advantage.
We're seeing what appears to be very standard builds so far. We got the double Balmy start in top, the very standard jungle enchantment coming from both sides, and then just the standard mage items. Pretty much the same builds as we saw last time, in fact.
So I'm not sure if this is an observer or spectator bug, but Pale Marcher has Shadow Cane already ready to go, and he's just opting not to go for it. He wants to go for the Red Cane.
That might actually not be a spectator bug. Kane he is in fact going Blue Cane.
He is?
Kane receiving a buff a few patches ago that increases the number of orbs he gets in the early game so that you don't just have to permagank to gain a form anymore.
Conqueror on Blue Cane, though, that is incredibly unusual.
We might see a sort of almost bruisery Blue Cane come out of like a Black Cleaver and a lethality item.
But why?
Well, Blue Cane has some very good options for very much just diving the backline, whereas Red has very good peel potential. And even with the divide of them being assassin and tank, you still can do both.
See how useful it is. Zorn will more than likely go down. And yep, that's going to be a Shadow Assassin Kane picking himself up a kill. Meanwhile, Endless Riftlord was ganked in the top side and did go down. There's actually a bit of a spectator's bug for us right now. As we can see, Endless Riftlord does not have a Keystone 3.
Oh, he doesn't.
That's an interesting thing to note. Okay.
New Korean.
Right, okay, it does pop up when he's alive though, so that's good to know at the very least.
You can't let anyone know your next move, not even yourself.
Absolutely, and they will be able to secure blue buff for Fruitcake. Very nicely done on the side of Rum Filled Crusaders. Definitely putting that early game pressure from the jungle outlook, as I mentioned in Champion Select, as it more than likely would be coming out of.
Next Drake being Infernal in 20 seconds. Both teams are looking to secure this, and then just hold down the pressure around the pit.
Infernal, especially for the matchup of, well, pretty much either matchup, they really want this, but if the Dummy Thiccs are able to get it, it could more or less solidify the current lead that they have. Crimson Jet with ultimate available, they can see that Endless Riftlord is teleporting down. He was standing on top of a ward when he did it. Zorn's going to get locked down by Endless Riftlord, and Fruitcake and Pale Marcher are going to be able to kill off Zorn before Crimson Jet can teleport in. They're going to use the Rise Portal to try and catch out Horny Vinter, forces the flash away, and they're going to put pressure onto this Infernal Drake. Meanwhile, Pale Marcher wants to try and get a solo kill into Horny Vinter, but he's just a bit too tanky for him and is able to get under turret before there's any more sustainable damage done. He decides to go back in, I guess. He decides to go back in and he gets out and dies. Who would have thought that the enemy team would still be there a second after you walked away? They will be able to secure the Infernal Drake. Meanwhile, Whisper is actually taking a lot of damage. Black Shield will go down eventually, but that's a lot of burst coming from Rise. He's not going to be able to escape. Pale Marcher flashes forward and will land the W connect, and that's going to be a stunned up Sugarbell. Zonya's Hourglass is used. It's actually just a stopwatch, and that's going to be the Kane ult to finish them off. Fruitcake tanks a tower for some reason, and that is going to be his first turret in the bot lane.
This Kane pick, it appears that he started off saying, I will take Red Kane, I will peel for us. But then just those two early kills just clicked something in his head and say, I can just keep on pushing this advantage, can't I? And he just picked Blue Kane and he's gone lethality, I think.
Absolutely, 14 minutes in, turret plating has fallen, but it didn't matter because they secured this turret in that bot side and a good amount of gold shared among pretty much everyone on the side of Rum Filled, which is actually a really good thing in this instance because it means the team as a whole can continue to press the advantage instead of just one individual having the advantage. As we are more or less seeing some pressure getting put out in the bot side in terms of vision. No vision really towards the top side as of yet, with Rift Herald being pretty much the only neutral objective on at the moment.
They still have plenty of time for Rift Herald, but I don't know if they I know Pale probably wants to go for this, but I don't know if it's the correct option. Seeing that, why would you go for Rift Herald where you could just farm an Ezreal?
That is a definite suggestion that should be considered there. But at the same time, he's more or less just opting to try and keep on farming Krugs to keep that consistent gold value up, which is by all means a good decision in itself as well, as unlike Ezreal's, Krugs always maintain their gold value.
Ah, yes. We are seeing the mobility boots on Pale. He's going all in on being Assassin King this game.
He is absolutely committing to the bidding. And yeah, he definitely didn't. I can assume he did not expect to go with Shadow Cane. But as you said, he had the advantage and he thought, why not? And it is working. All things considered, it is definitely working out in their favor. And around the 16-minute mark, we will have bot side rotating towards mid lane from Rum Filled, and they might try and look to pressure Rift Herald or topside in general. But ping's coming out. They might just try and stay mid.
Ender's Rift Lord are looking to take bot now, while the rest of the team's going to hold out mid. This could be almost a 4-1 strategy at 16 minutes.
Yeah, it very well could be. Teleport's still 150 seconds off of cooldown for Endless Rift Lord, so he won't be able to join any kind of team fight just yet. But if he continues to push out that bottom lane, he's actually opting to hover towards the top side of bottom river just to be there because he has no teleport to roam to mid lane just in case. Fruitcake might potentially be getting caught out here by Horny Vinter, but Horny Vinter does not want to overstep. He knows there's a Shadow Cane lurking in the bushes somewhere, but he's actually just getting ripped out.
The phase rush definitely being a bit too much for Vinter to catch up to in a lot of these situations.
Absolutely, and Leviathan and Jay Dizzle seen heading towards Rift Herald, more or less giving away the fact that they are doing it. They should be able to secure it relatively quickly, as Horny Vinter is not there to challenge it. And they will be able to secure it. It did almost look like Jugabel stole it with a Dark Binding, but thankfully Pale Marcher was able to secure it. I think actually Fruitcake might have secured it. Regardless, J Dizzle has picked it up, and they might look to try and use it in the mid lane. They will. However, there's not enough crowd control pressure, and they're not going to be able to stop the summon. Zorn's taking a lot of damage from Leviathan here. Horny Vinter's at the Raptors camp, but he's not going to be able to do much. Fruitcake taunted up under tower, will take a lot of tower damage, but he will be able to take down Crimson Jet with him. And it's going to be mid lane turret falling. Pale Marcher able to secure a kill. Actually, no, Pale Marcher was not able to secure a kill. He just dove onto a bunch of minions. Why was he there? I don't know.
Actually, we saw a rather good outplay with the bind into flash ultimate from Zorn to stop Pale getting the kill.
Right, of course, yes. And then you have Whisper trying to get some kind of conversation, and here comes Shadowcat.
So Pale Marcher having a little bit of playing with his food there, letting him flash away before just coming back with the Shadow Step.
Yeah, just a tad bit, and Leviathan and Jade just looking to secure the Mountain Drake, get the trio going. Cloud, Wind, Earth, and Fire. All they need is Ocean to complete all the elements and form the Avatar. But that's going to be Dragon secured uncontested, and things are definitely looking to have turned around compared to last game.
I feel like, and I don't want to jinx this for Rum Filled, I feel like we're going to see Game 3 in this.
I don't think you're jinxing it at this stage. The advantage is quite vast. There's a just about 10k gold lead at 20 minutes in. Not even 20 minutes, 19 and a half minutes. And
all that gold, in fact, being generated from kills. If we look at CS leads, there's not much in the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. It is complete kill participation. And with a couple of people, I believe, opting for the Domination secondary mastery, they would have acquired those nice Hunter stacks, which you're pretty much guaranteed to take when you take Domination secondary.
Yeah, especially on the Blue Cane. We see, feel like he's gone Ravenous Hunter. I don't know how much that's actually helping him, though.
Well, it certainly will help him more now that he has definitely secured all of his stacks for it. And mass pings coming out. They want to push this mid lane out. Overstep they have on the side of Dummy Thicc, and it is going to be an absolute massacre. Crimson Jet comes through, but he might have wished that he hadn't. And he's going to go down eventually to Fruitcake here. Actually, the kill's going to go over to Pale Marcher. Of course it is, his Shadow Cane. And they're just going to push this mid lane turret out, teleporting the minions forward for the sake of saving time. And things are definitely without a doubt, looking in favor of Rum Filled Crusaders this game.
I don't want to say that they went in one at a time, but it's very much once Pale was in the middle of them, they all split, and everyone just came back. Like you said, that Red King could do, but he's pulling off with Blue.
Yeah, he is absolutely able to do work with the Blue Cane, which is more or less unseen by both us and him in the early stages. The advantage, as you can see across the board, bounties on all the carries, more or less, on the side of Rum Filled Crusaders. And Dummy Thicc are just not able to secure any kind of compensation. Fruitcake gets another kill in the jungle. Sugarbell caught out and goes down with ease.
We are seeing very much this great chasm forming between the two teams. Even if you look at the builds, like the amount of value in some of these builds compared to what currently is being built by Dummy Thicc. Like, you have the Essence Reaver Bladed Rune King with passive vest, just sort of extra damage on your Q with Ezreal's build currently.
Yeah, the gold lead has now exceeded 10k. Fruitcake potentially overstepping, but he is a very strong boy. The CC does come through. Cleanse popped. Flash popped. Zorn maybe caught out. Flash from J Disney will not connect with anything. This might be a bit of overstep from Rum Filled Crusaders, but no, Pale Marcher is there to secure the kill on the Zorn and potentially Whisper. Ultimate out. Rise Teleport coming through, and Whisper will go down. And this may very well be game 2 for Rum Filled Crusaders. Dummy Thicc just laid to waste in that mid lane.
The Rum Filled Crusaders did sneak a very quick Baron in. Nothing that Dummy Thicc could have done to contest that. Not in the position they're in.
Absolutely not in the position that they're in. And more or less, Rum Filled Crusaders were able to win this pretty much through the bottom lane again. Most of the pressure and most of the action happened in that area. Towards the bot side at the very least, and it's because of the pressure they were able to put out. They were able to be in that position to secure that early advantage, which got them that Cloud Drake, which got them the gold lead that they needed to continue pushing on.
Also, another factor is all these kills just slowly feeding into the Kane. Just every gank or so he'd get 2 or 3, and eventually he became Blue Kane, and then those were his kills.
Absolutely, and of course the damage output he was able to get that Blue Cane immensely fast, 10 minutes in, which is almost ridiculous. But of course it is an oceanic game. It's all about fight, fight, fight. Of course, we are now going to have to go into game 3. We will be back momentarily. Hello everybody and welcome as we are getting into game. Yes, it is here. I'm not having a fever dream. We are in game 3 of the ECU ES Rumble between Rum Filled Crusaders and Dummy Thicc. Dummy Thicc's now back on the blue side, Rum Filled on the red side. We're going to have the bans coming through. Same bans from Dummy Thicc. More or less same bans from game 2 from Rum Filled, as to be expected, because that's the game that they won.
A massive upset coming from game 2. Just everything went right for them.
Absolutely, they had the Kane get ahead, they had the Rise get ahead, they had the Lucian get ahead, they had the Brand get ahead, they even had Maokai get ahead.
That can't have felt good right after that win.
There's the ban targeted. Banning out the Lucian, finally, that early game pressure that they can put out on the bot lane on that pick, finally is recognized by Dummy Thicc, and he's going to be forced to pick something else.
Right now, we're not really seeing anything else besides that. They've swapped out one of their, I believe, their Z ban for a Lucian. And the same bans from Rum Filled too.
See, that's the thing. Z isn't banned. I'm curious to see if Fruitcake picks it up.
We might be seeing it if Whisper doesn't first pick it, just to not give it to him.
That could very well be a thing as well. But at the same time, you've got Eyes, you've got Cassidy also not being banned. Actually picking up Kaiser, not going for the Ezreal. He wants to do something a bit more proactive in the early game.
I think they saw what early game advantage that Rum Filled gained, and they said, we need that. Let's go get that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we are going to have Rise definitely worked out for Fruitcake. And we could see Zed again getting picked up by someone like Zorn on the side of Dummy Thicc to try and counteract that, because clearly Lux didn't work.
We're seeing Maokai on Endless Rift Lord again, just his comfort pick.
Absolutely. It's his pick. Nobody's heartless enough to take it away from him, because, what else would he play?
We are seeing the LeBlanc. So
Okay.
when Zed's open and Lux didn't work, you take the good even ground.
Yeah, no, definitely. LeBlanc is a very stable pick for mid. It has that early game pressure to try and counteract the Rise if he does get ahead. Ornn locked in for Crimson Jet.
They've given up on their old strat. They're going in.
Yeah, all new strat. Draven logged in. I have been definitely doubling down on the early pressure, especially with a pick like Draven.
You can just hear Leviathan. Okay, you don't want me playing Lucian. I'll just go play Draven.
Now I'm curious what the support pickup will be from Jay Dizzle to support Draven.
I feel like he want. Oh, sorry. Go on.
I was just saying, I don't think you want something like the brand. I think you want something that's a bit more hard lockdown, like maybe a Thresh or potentially Morgana, since it's available.
I was going to say he's definitely looking for a Thresh Morgana. Maybe a Blitz if it really comes down to it, if he really wants to go that aggressive.
Yeah, and Morgana actually banned away by Dummy Thicc. They see that they picked in Draven and they don't want that combo to go through. He was banned beforehand by the side of Rum Filled, banning away that jungle potential presence. He actually receiving a nerf this patch though, so probably not the best pickup for the jungle, even then.
There goes the Lulu. Is that they don't want to fight Lulu? I don't see much synergy between the Kesa and the Lulu.
Yeah, not too much synergy between Kai'Sa and Lulu, but Lulu is definitely just one of the champions that on their own, regardless of the champion that they are supporting, can just be a nuisance with the Whimsy, with the Polymorph. And it's going to be Nautilus locked in. That's the hard-hitting crowd control champion that they're going for.
Nautilus doing a lot of work in pro play and solo queue, just everywhere he's been doing work. I'm surprised he hasn't turned up before this.
Absolutely, and Braum was the last ban coming out from the side of Dummy Thicc, wanting to get that away from the side of Rum Filled. But as we said, Nautilus has been locked in, and Horny Winter going for Hecarim. I don't think that's a good pickup for him.
I don't know if it was a case of, okay, we took away Pale's first pick. His second pick is Hecarim. Do we take Hecarim? And then everyone just said yes, and he's gone along with it. That might just not. Pardon me. That might just be the wrong choice, and that might just lead to a loss. We see the Kayn again.
Yeah, Kayn definitely worked out for Pale Marcher last game, but Horny Winter on the Amumu many times in that first game, he overextended and overstepped his boundaries by taking those bandage tosses. I'm not saying Hecarim has a bandage toss, but he definitely has the potential to overstep on the Hecarim, who was incredibly weak in the early game.
Especially if we see Winter here going for a very attack damage Conqueror Trinity build here, we're definitely going to see that probably go for the punish. If it goes tanky, we might see something else, though.
Absolutely, and especially into a hard crowd control lockdown composition like the one on the side of Rum Filled with the Nautilus, with the Maokai, with the Rise, even with the Draven with the, I forget.
Step Aside.
Step Aside, yeah. Even that can offset the Hecarim and just put him in a position where he can just get bursted, taken out, and dealt with.
A sort of a funny note I'd like to talk about is Dummy Thicc here going, okay, we need to go aggressive in the bot lane, picking the Kesa, then seeing the Draven pick, and immediately picking one of the most enchanter supports in the roster.
Yeah, Janna did receive a bit of a buff this patch, though, with the W change, reducing cooldown. Sorry, no, I believe it was I'm pretty sure it was the W change.
Yeah, reducing shield cooldown on a knock-up hit.
Yes, that is correct. So in addition, you can effectively spam shield if you're able to land your cup abilities. So potentially useful into the Draven matchup to block some damage, but very squishy. And if she gets hooked by a Nautilus, that's going to spell disaster.
Wait, I want to see if this what Sugar Bell goes for here, because we might see a very shield orientated, ADC orientated Ardent Sensor build, just hoping for Whisper to carry, or we might see something a bit more team orientated with some AoE. I forgot what the ghosts were called. Pardon, the Twin Shadows.
Yeah, Twin Shadows. Yeah, that is a definite possibility for the build. We could have also just see standard in terms of runes. We could see anything along the lines of Airy to even Guardian, just to try and get as much shielding down as possible to just block damage. We'll probably see something along the lines of Guardian or Aftershock on the Nautilus, which is obviously to be expected.
We're also going to see a definite variation in what Leviathan's going to be taking. A lot of runes, working rather well in Draven recently.
Yeah, there is a good selection of runes to go for on a Draven. There's, of course, Lethal Tempo, Press the Attack. Even Conqueror can sometimes work. Of course, with the nerf, probably not as much as of late. Hell, even Hail of Blades can work. I've even seen Kleptomancy Draven work out from time to time.
I've definitely seen Klepto popping up a lot more, but it's been a lot more of a cheese strats getting Lowy to pull out their soul for free gold.
Yeah, no, that is a definite factor. I am more than definitely curious to see what Pale Marcher goes with here. We did see him go with the Conqueror in that last game, more than likely opting towards the Red Cane build, but he did go for the Blue Cane instead. In this matchup, he would be more than likely to go for Red Cane, I'd say.
But if Ventus becomes a threat, yes, I do agree. However, he might still have a bit of that ego and confidence that says, Blue Cane worked, I'll go Electrocute.
Yeah, and that was going to be my other, either that or he is doubling down on Blue Cane worked really well, do it again. And then they go for Blue Cane with the Electrocute, and it could very well be the thing that wins the game for them. Of course, Fruitcake on the rise, very good pick, could definitely be the thing that gives them the lead as well.
And as we get into this loading screen, we see Conqueror back onto the cane. What else? We have Comet Janna. That's exactly what I wanted to see.
Comet Janna. Oh. I suppose a poke bot lane is somewhat sensible. Especially with a low mobility champion. The Nautilus, we'll see if it bears fruit. Fleet Footwork picked up by Whisper on the Kaiser.
Very standard rune.
Potentially standard, but sometimes people do like to opt for Press the Attack, as Leviathan has, just for the extended trade damage output. But of course, with a rather flimsy support like the Janna, who can get picked off rather easily, having that extra mobility from the fleet work as well as the regen can definitely be beneficial.
We'll also see how this rune page sets rune page. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong. How this page goes into their build, as the old Kaiser build used Stormrazor and Fleet Footwork, but the new one using PTA and a Manamo.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we have Pale Marcher going for the Conqueror again.
We'll see that if he actually does get to Red Cane.
Maybe he goes for Red Cane. Maybe this is just a new Blue Cane build that I've never seen before.
Korean top 10 challenger build.
The sustain regen Blue Assassin build. With the domination secondary for the Ravenous Hunter.
We'll send out the stream highlights. This build won me a tournament 1v9.
He hasn't won the tournament yet. It's still semi-finals. And speaking of which, semi-finals, Game 3, this is the deciding game. Whichever team wins this goes to finals, which is being held at the ECU campus. I don't believe we're sure on the date just yet, but we are definitely looking forward to seeing what the teams are that make it to that final.
Both teams are gonna... Sorry. Both teams definitely turning on the sweat for this last game, I think.
Yeah, especially with Zorn on the definite hyper carry pickup potential. And we'll see whether it pays off. He's opted to take Ignite instead of Teleport. He wants that early kill pressure to be able to shut down Fruitcake before he can start to pop off. As we are now just starting to get into game, it's going to be Mountain Drake first. Again, very nice for securing those early objectives. I stand by the fact that Infernal and Mountain are the best early game Drakes because they allow extra damage to push for potential objectives.
I definitely see that. And Infernal being obviously the best. I will argue that.
100% the best. And of course, we are now starting to sync up at around the 20-second mark. And we are now into game. As we can see, there have been some pings coming out. It might look to be an early invade. They do have the North Hook potential, but it seems like the side of Dummy Thicc might be, sensing something might be happening because of the Nautilus pickup. They are opting to go for the long way around.
And it is warded, though.
Well. It is warded, so they will get spotted, but they might be able to still get some kind of pick. Fruitcake is the first one ahead, and he's going to run in right in, and he's way, and that might be first blood going down. The Ignite is blocked. Kaiser will get the first kill, but it is an absolute bloodbath. Draven already gets a kill for himself as well. Meanwhile, PrelawGerm goes down as well. Leviathan securing 2 kills for himself. Lockdown onto Zorn. They're trying to just stop him and let Leviathan get away, but ultimately that's 3-2 in favor of Dummy Thicc.
Absolute fiesta of a fight happening at Red Buff.
Absolutely, 2 kills going both over to the 80 carries of each team, so still relatively even, all things considered, except for that 1 kill picked up by Zorn on the LeBlanc. Used Ignite, Fruitcake no flash now, Leviathan no flash or heal, and J Dizzle burned the Ignite.
Whisper and Vinter also burning flash in that exchange.
Yeah.
So we do have a almost flashless bot lane. We have flashes on both supports.
Yeah, a potential early scuffed fight. Not sure, a bit of a misplay by having Fruitcake be at the front, but of course he wanted to try and get the root off us first, I'd assume. But definitely having J Dizzle or even Endless...
Zorn going really aggressive.
Yeah, Zorn is going incredibly aggressive, has to flash forward to secure the kill with an auto attack, and that's going to be another kill going over to Zorn, and things are not looking good in the mid lane matchup for Rum Filled Crusaders right
now. Kane here, doing his blue side clear. Definitely not what you want to be doing. Kane loves his red side. He loves those multi-creature camps. And having to go through that bot lane for that better leash might harm his clear.
Yeah, definitely wants to get the gold and experience advantage that the Krugs offer. And of course, as we can see, Fruitcake did opt to use Teleport to get back into lane to try and not lose too much of an experience or CS disparity to Zorn, who does now have no flash or ignite, so it's a relatively even matchup. Of course, Zorn with the ability to dash around Fruitcake could still prove a problem for Fruitcake, who has Horny Winter coming through. Won't be able to do anything though, because surprise, surprise, Hecarim doesn't do too much damage early.
I would like to point out in the top lane, Ornn, although we don't see him too often, is an amazing tank pick. Just because of his percent health damage and everything he does, he might just be a better tank than Endless Riftlord for just a few minutes.
Yeah, a very good thing to pick up on, with Ornn being able to out-duel tanks, at least in the early stages, before they become too tanky. And we are having a bit of pressure put towards the top side from Pale Marcher. He will secure the scuttle by the looks of it. And of course, Horny Winter securing the scuttle on his own part in the bottom side. and both jungles more or less splitting the map by the looks of it.
Looking at Clear, both have left their Krogs open, but as we see, Pale having the Gromp advantage over Vinter. Vinter not really sure what to do here. They're sort of hanging around River.
The full side clear from Pale Marcher actually somewhat pays off, as you will get a little bit of red stacks from Crimson Jet and opt to go for his Krugs now. As we can see, Horny Vinter is doing the same.
As I direct towards bot, we see although both ADCs have the 2 kills, neither one wants to lose that advantage by potentially taking a bad trade or losing a fight even.
Absolutely, Leviathan will have heal and eventually flash coming off of cooldown very shortly. I believe it is only 80 seconds off of cooldown, as the same with Whisper. Zorn's Ignite is already off cooldown, especially after the changes that happened not too long ago, reducing its cooldown but overall damage as a whole.
In a bit of time, we might actually see a lot of action down here. Both ADCs having their flashes back in about a minute at this point.
Yeah, and of course, Sugar Bell with the exhaust up again. A bit of a trade happening in the mid lane, going in the favor of Horse. But Fruitcake is starting to get his bearings. He's not taking as much damage now, and he will slowly begin to outscale Zorn on the LeBlanc, as Ryze does in most matchups.
Zorn definitely picking up the slack of what he did last game. Definitely wanting to win this matchup no matter what.
He definitely is, and this game could very well still go either way, although there is a 2-kill disparity for the side of Dummy Thicc.
Both junglers are mid.
There's going to be a double gank happening in the mid lane. Both junglers at the side of each other want to more or less walk away. Pale Marcher trying to get a little bit of damage done, though, just to try and get those red stacks that he's more or less opting towards this game.
We did get the Ornn TP.
Wait, what? What is teleport down? That's a bit of a misplay on their part. Meanwhile, Pale Marcher able to get even more red stacks on top from Horny Vinter. And a bit of a trade happening in the mid lane. Fruitcake just has to walk away. Doesn't have teleport up, unfortunately, so the minion wave will more than likely crash into his turret.
I think Vinter has just felt the matchup out, and he's just realized he loses the early game. He just has to let this Kayn get scuttles at this point and just not die to him.
Now, you say that, and by all means, I hope you're right, but there's still plenty of margin for error, especially on the Hecarim in the early game, who has actually opted to go almost straight for his jungle item. He's finished the Stalker's Blade. Normally, you just keep the first tier item that you've got and just start to build into Trinity if you want to finish it first.
He might be building a more tank build here. We are seeing a 7-minute dragon. Blue side has scouted it.
Yeah, they are opting to try and secure the dragon early again. Not too much pressure coming out, and I don't think they'll be able to, as there actually isn't a smite from Pale Marcher, but they still aren't going to be able to pressure it too much. Exhaust pop from Sugar Bell, and Zorn does go in and will take out Jay Dizzle, but that's going to be about it, unless he goes in for a bit more. Horny Vinter's there. He's hovering around, but he's not going to be able to go in. Stalker Blade does come into use, as it is able to slow down Pale Marcher. Flash use from Whisper, but they're going to keep on chasing. They will eventually get the kill, and that's going to be a killing spree for Whisper. Flash from Leviathan as well as heal used. Same for Whisper though, same for Zorn used Ult Summoners, Horny Vinter used Ult Summoners, Pale Marcher had to flash, and that was a trade going in the favor of Dummy Thicc.
I do believe that was kind of a misplay from Rum Filled there. They actually started that Drake without Smite, and it wasn't even up until a full 3 seconds after the drag got killed.
Yeah, that was a definite factor, although they were able to Mountain Drake, so that could potentially pay off later on as they look to try and pressure those outer objectives. It will be a second Mountain Drake popping up in 4 minutes. As you can see, Jay Dizzle actually hooking out Whisper, stopping the recall. A bit of a cheeky
BM.
Yeah, cheeky BM hook coming out there as he tries to freeze the mean wave for Leviathan to get him those aberration stacks and CS.
Looking at the gold lead, we actually have a nearly 2k gold lead. going on to Dummy here, which is...
It is a 2k gold lead, but it is at 9 minutes, so it is definitely something to take note of. But a 2k gold lead can easily get reversed if things go the way of the Rum Filled Crusaders.
Especially with these two bounties on the carries of Dummy. Those
Absolutely. All you need is one well-placed hook or one well-placed snare from the Rise to potentially get that kill. Meanwhile, Horny Venter back in the mid lane, trying to lock down Fruitcake, but the Phase Rush will get him away safely.
Sadly, Venter missing Onslaught of Shadows, the fear aspect of it anyway.
That could have potentially spelled the kill for Zorn or Horny Venter there, as Fruitcake did not have Flash up, but as you said, he was not able to connect the fear, so he will get away.
Looking to top river, we might see a little squabble.
Yeah, a potential squabble here happening in the jungle as well. Eventually secure the scuttle for himself, thankfully, and then opt to run away as Zorn is just too powerful to fight right now, and he needs his mid laner to be in a better position to do it.
Crimson here wants to roam, it feels like.
Yeah, he definitely wants to get out of this wet noodle fight in the top side, but nobody's letting him. Nobody's giving him the opportunity to move out earlier and acquired nothing from it. Endless Riftlord used teleport before to help secure the dragon, I believe. Or was it to get back into lane? One of the two.
I think it was lane.
Because it's a bit of a snore fest up in that top side.
Looking to bot side, we are seeing that Rumfield, are pushing in a bit, and we are seeing the Manamura build on Kai'Sa.
Yeah, Manamune on Kai'Sa has become a staple pickup. Of course, we are seeing Leviathan opting to go for what looks to be a Bloodthirster first item. So a good pickup for Draven in that aspect. Gives him a ton of AD and a ton of kiting and healing potential to extend those fights and survive potential trades coming out. We have Pale Marcher here in that bot side looking for a gank, but he knows that it's warded. So he's waiting for the perfect opportunity to go in, and this might be it. No hook coming out from Dizzle though. They do spot out Horny Venter though, and that's a good amount of damage. Conqueror is propped by both jungles. Meanwhile, hook actually does come out onto Sugarbell, and that's a lot of damage coming out. Ignite is popped, and Sugarbell is dangerously low, but there's no jungle support there now to help them fight it off. And overall, unsuccessful for the side of Rum Filled Crusaders.
These two junglers are just catching each other at every step. And slowly but surely, Venter is becoming the better fighter. As we see, he's actually gone for a Cinderhawk, so going for that tanky build, which helps him in these little skirmishes against Kayn.
It definitely does, and speaking of which, Kayn has now gotten himself the red form, so he will be able to heal and survive, as well as provide a bit of additional crowd control for his team, which is, I think, exactly what they need right now. Because an assassin would more or less be somewhat thwarted by something like the LeBlanc kiting potential or the Janna shielding.
We're definitely seeing Pale reading his game state right now. In the previous game, he was 2-0-3 at the time he got form, and he just said, I'm going blue. This time, he hasn't got a kill, he's helped with ganks, but he hasn't got much from it, and he just said, red form's safer. Maybe I'll be able to duel this, heck, but that's...
Yeah, definitely with the advanced healing, a bit of a trade happening in the top side, but I don't expect anything to really come of this. Actually, Endless Riftlord is taking a good amount of damage, and that's going to be a kill. Holy heckaroonie.
Percent health damage. That's exactly what you need in these fights. And Ornn has bucket loads.
Speaking of heckaroonies, they're looking to get the mountain here in the bot side after getting that kill in the top side. No teleport from Endless Riftlord for 15 seconds, but teleport is available for Crimson Jet there on the Ornn. Speaking of which, Ornn, a very nice pick for the top lane, especially because of that anti-tank trading potential, but also because of the item potential towards that late game.
Even without the items, we've seen I don't know if Crimson Jet is reading this or I'm reading too far into this, but Risklord loves staying top and he loves using his TP to get back. And picking someone like Ornn, where you can say, okay, you TP back, I won't even leave lane, and just pushing that advantage even further is definitely putting him on his toes. Or on his heels, sorry.
Yeah, it definitely is, and there's so much pressure coming up from both jungles here in the bot side, but nothing is really able to come of it. And so far, the game seems to have slowed down a bit. The latest kill being that 1v1 in that top side for Crimson Jet.
Currently, the sitting is we definitely see a advantage to Dummy Thicc, but besides that, it's 14 minutes. The swing can go either way, especially with the 4-minute Infernal Drake coming up. Both teams definitely want that.
Yeah, double Mountain Drake on both teams, so each team has equal pressure, more or less, damage output when it comes to Mountain Drakes. Neither team really having too much of an advantage. Meanwhile, there's a scuffle happening in the bot side, but of course, J-Dizzle Nizzle being the Nautilus and the tanky man that he is will be able to shrug it off and save Leviathan from certain doom. Meanwhile, Crimson Jet actually in a bit of trouble here. Knockup does not connect from Pale Master, but Flash is forced, and that's going to be a Flash ultimate coming from Pale Master, and they will look to tower dive, and they will be able to secure the kill eventually. Return kill, Pale Master potentially securing some kind of advantage in this top side. You there, Prelaw? Prelaw?
Sorry.
All right.
I just had to sort something out.
All good, mate. This isn't too serious of a cast. It is semi-finals, but even then, it's an ECU.
It isn't live finals.
It isn't live finals. Exactly. That's what we want to hear. Teleport use from Crimson Jet to try and save that top lane turret will do so. Meanwhile, the ultimate from the Forge God actually coming through to try and slow them down and give some kind of a gank potential for Horny Winter will not pay off. And Zorn actually roamed top, but I don't think he'll be able to get anything else unless Pale Marcher goes straight into the bush and gives him a kill.
Pale Marcher doing some amazing footsies and dodging that ult, all to come to a head when he just walks into the LeBlanc.
Yep. Very unfortunate misplay and underestimation of where the mid laner was, considering they're not in their lane. And oversteps and unfortunately gives over an unnecessary kill to...
Looking to bot side again, as all matches are probably decided by the ADC. We're seeing
getting caught out here, but Phase Rush will help him get away as he is able to dodge the snare from Zorn.
Alright. We're seeing a very clear divide in the teams. We're seeing at this moment anyway. We're seeing the top half of the map just populated, and then the bot lane is just sticking together.
Yeah, but all things considered, they are able to maintain a... they're able to keep it at only at just about a 2k gold lead. Meanwhile, Brewcake actually starting to deal a bit of damage now as he's opted into the level 11 stage of his kit. He's actually looking to get a bit of a tankier build. He's already got the tier stacking up, and he's got 2 amplifying tomes and a catalyst. What do you think he's building towards?
He might be going... Is that an Abyssal Mask builder? That can't be.
Catalyst, no, he doesn't have a Negatron plug, though.
Yes. What's another Catalyst item?
There is Protobelt.
Protobelt is...
There's a tower dive happening top lane. I mean, there was a tower, so it's not technically a tower dive. The core of the Forge God will go out, but overall, this trade is definitely going to go into the favor of Rum Filled, and they will go down. Meanwhile, Horny Winter is in the mid lane, will get knocked up by the depth charge, and they will be able to get out relatively safely. However, it looks like they're going to try and force this turret in the mid lane on the force of the Dummy Thicc. Leviathan is there to try and lend a hand, but they're relatively low on mana as well, so there's not much they can really do. Dummy Thicc, though, opting to back out and go for this Infernal, which is coming up in 2 seconds.
Looking at this Rise build, I think what has happened is he's gone Catalyst and then as a detour. So it's definitely going to be...
Yeah, he's opted to go for Catalyst because, one, he gets damage from mana, but also he's doing it to gain some kind of health pool to be a bit more tanky. Yeah.
I feel like we're definitely going to see a Rod come out after this Archangel, though.
Yeah, Rod after Archangel is definitely a possibility. Of course, he has now built the Lost Chapter, which is what the Amplifying Tomes for. So that will probably end up going into a Luden's Echo. Teleport actually coming out, and it will be interrupted by the Fear. Fruitcake actually getting dove onto by Whisper. Fear giving Whisper the ability to use the Void Assault to attack. But Fruitcake with the shield up, actually, Horny Vinter flashes in, will die to the turret, giving Fruitcake a kill eventually. Yeah, trade going in, more or less in the favor of Dummy Thicc's. Whisper might die to turret. No, he's just barely going to be able to walk away. Meanwhile, Power Marcher was able to secure Rift Herald.
Yeah, we did see that. Although the Dummy secured Dragon, they didn't. Rum didn't let them get it for nothing.
Absolutely did not let them build it for nothing.
We are seeing another Infernal Drake in 4 minutes, though, so I think that's going to be very hotly contested objective, because both teams want that. Or rather, one team wants that, the other team definitely doesn't want the other team to have it.
Yeah, that is a definite factor to be aware of. Meanwhile, Crimson Jet will push the side. Diz actually doesn't have Demolish. Wait, what is this? A tank that doesn't have Demolish?
Sorry, who?
Ornn.
No, Ornn has Demolish. He used it should be on cooldown right now, in fact.
Oh, did he use it on the Furia top?
Yes.
Of course. He has now finished his first item, and as I say that, he has now finished his second, being the Sunfire Cape and the Abyssal Mask.
And both are masterworked because Ornn.
Yep, the Forged Fire Cape and the Infernal Mask, definitely incredibly useful items. Especially for Ornn, who does that magic damage around him, but also needs resistances to stay alive. And of course, after all any additional levels from henceforth, he can upgrade items for his teammates, such as the Luden's Echo here on Zorn, who is currently harassing a poor, harmless cat tree thing.
I do want to point out by just the nature of Ornn's build right now, one of his teammates is going to be upgradeless.
Yeah, there could be a potential fight happening here, though, in the hard on top of Zorn, but he will get out and knocked away by the Call of the Forge God and not able to ultimate in time. Meanwhile, Fruitcake is actually going to get caught out here as well. I'm going to see if the damage is enough. The teleport actually coming through might just be able to save him. No, it's right on top of Whisper, who's going to be able to finish him off. And J Dizzle lands a hook. He really wish he didn't. And he's going to go down as well. That's going to be an ace, a clean ace for Dummy Thicc, as they're going to probably make their way towards Baron.
This game has just been turned around. This is almost a reflect of what happened last game.
Yeah, definitely factors in play that are just completely in the side of advantage for the Dummy Thicc, especially in that mid lane matchup, and even in that lane matchup, Whisper really starting to pop off on the Kai'Sa. Flash in by Power Marcher will not steal the Baron away, and he would go down and die, which is quite unfortunate. I don't think he actually respawns in time to use Rift Herald as well, so they actually lose that as well.
Oh, this is disastrous for them. I would like to just quickly... The item advantage here is rather large, as we see 6-0, 6 Kai'Sa. Not even Draven with Admiration can keep up to that.
It does seem like a bit of a daunting wall that Rum Filled Crusaders are staring down right now. Zorn toying with Fruitcake more or less with the deceptive dance of using the distortion to dance around. Endless Rivulet teleports in, but just dies. He's not tanky enough.
I think a lot of that also comes from now they have this massive AD threat in the mix that is built for shredding tanks. Just a tank on his own is no longer enough.
Absolutely, and they're looking to try and get some kind of bushwhack happening here in the bottom River, but they're just going to go for Infernal Drake. They don't want anything. They don't care about the minion wave. They want Infernal. But Whisper potentially overextending. The hook doesn't land, but the snare from Rise does, and the flash is forced. But that's going to be Horny Vinter diving on top of Tyvan, and he will go down eventually. Whisper's actually going to pick up the kill hit for himself, and then on top of that, he's going to get Pale Marcher. Meanwhile, Zorn gets Fruitcake, and he's probably going to get J Dizzle eventually. Unless Horny Vinter's going to pick it up for himself.
Pretty much a clean ace there again.
Yeah, pretty much again, because Endless Riftlord is not going to be able to do anything to defend these turrets effectively. The turret is going to go down eventually to the Trinity Force on Horny Vinter. Eventually, I mean, there's no minions, but if down there. And Whisper there with the percentage health damage will take down Riftlord. And now Pale Marcher, Fruitcake, Leviathan, and Jadizzle have to defend this as a 4-man team.
This goal lead has certainly evolved from a 2k to over a 10k.
Rise teleport through. They are so desperate and they want something shut down. That's actually that's a 700
shutdown. But that leaves still a 200 shutdown on her.
Yeah, it's a 200 shutdown, but at least the gold went onto someone like the Draven who really needed that damage to be able to win teamfights for his team.
Did we see how much admiration he procced off of that? I believe he was close to 6. Must have been close to 60.
He earned 141 gold from that. So he's 83.
Yes. That might actually be enough to get him into the game and start contesting this Kai'Sa. Even if she's 9-1, Raven could just pop off eventually.
As much as I want to agree with you, it does seem a bit of a pipe dream. However, on the line for the Rum Filled, at least Zorn has not gone for the Magi's just yet.
Yes.
He's decided to build more staple items instead.
We do see the first upgrade of Crimson going to LeBlanc. A very obvious choice there. Give her more damage.
Yeah, absolutely an obvious choice. Of course, he is level 15, so he can upgrade another item. Probably going to be the Trinity Force on top of Horny Vinter. And meanwhile, another fight is happening. Depth Charge is used. Sugarbell's incredibly low. Going to get killed by Leviathan. This team fight is actually looking in the favor of Rum Filled Crusaders. Pale March is actually holding on top of Zorn, and they are not able to get the kill. Just barely. No, he's not going to be able to finish him off. Zorn is just barely living on anything. I'm willing to bet that if they were able to kill Zorn and then collapse on the rest of the team, that could have been the team fight in favor of Rum Filled Crusaders, but they are going to lose the inhib, and they are going to have a bit more pressure put onto them. They might even rotate bot to try and get that inhib turret down there. It is incredibly low, and I believe they would have demolished on Crimson Jet there.
Dummy Thicc getting
teleport coming through. They are not done. They want to keep this fight up, but the knock up from Crimson Jet, it catches them out, and that's going to be a triple kill for the for Dummy Thicc, and Fruitcake will not be able to escape, and that is going to be just 3 completely unnecessary kills going to Dummy Thicc.
Dummy Thicc getting a bit cocky with the 3v4, but backing it up, getting the kill, even getting the Ornn TP in behind them. It was just disastrous. We have a bit of a tank slap happening in mid though.
Yeah, a bit of a tank slap happening in mid. Horny Vent is out of mana, but the rest of his team is there pushing up the inhibitor. That's going to be a double inhib in the favor of Dummy Thicc, and they could very well look to try and close out the game right. Power March is down for 20 seconds. Meanwhile, another fight looks to be happening here. Whisper ults in, and that's going to be a Maokai ultimate to try and lock them down. Endless Riftlord is going on. Horny Vinter out of mana, not able to do too much. Fruitcake will be able to secure the kill. They might be able to try and secure the base here, but that's a Nexus turret down, and things are just not looking good for them.
Dummy Thicc sticking around for a bit too long, running out of mana.
He's doing it again. He wants the kills. He wants them. Whisper is running right into him though. Endless Ripple actually cues him away from Fruitcake and secures the kill for himself. He says, "Mine," and they take the kill. Crimson Jet is on his own. He's running towards Zorn, and Sugar Bell, who will be able to help him out. Pale Marcher does nothing, and he's not able to absorb any damage. Fruitcake is on his own, although Endless Ripplord is there. He's probably going to be able to do too much other than distract them for a couple of seconds. Zorn is focused completely on top of Fruitcake. The Phase Rush is not going to be enough, neither is the shield. That's a triple kill over to Zorn. Things are definitely looking to just outright go in the favor of Dummy Thicc.
Dummy Thicc there, just overstaying their welcome. They've run out of resources, and they thought, you know what, let's be a little bit greedy, and they got punished for it. Not too hot, though.
Then there's LeBlanc. Yes.
14-0. That doesn't feel good at any point in life.
Yeah, he bought Magi's. He decided, you know what, I think we're in a leading, I think we're going to win this. I may as well just buy the Magi.
And that's GG's from both teams.
That is GG's. The game 3 goes over to Dummy Thicc. They are the semi-final winners, and they will go on to the finals being held on the ECU campus at a later date. Unfortunately, Rum Filled Crusaders just not able to pull it out in the end.
Yeah, a second wind of sorts coming in that second game, but they couldn't keep up the momentum and just losing. I don't know if it was losing of picks or just they just picked into a different sort of comp and they didn't understand how to fight that, but it just didn't go well enough for them.
Yeah, it definitely nothing to scoff at. Well done by both teams, more or less. Obviously, mistakes on both parts at several instances, but also well played by both teams in many parts, especially in that second game specifically for the Rum Filled Crusaders, and in that first and second game for members on the side of Dummy Thicc.
Definitely.
All in all, though, a pretty nicely even semi-final game, and that's pretty much exactly what you want from this kind of level of competition. Nice even playing field that could potentially go either way. Anyway, that's going to be it from us here in the broadcasting crew. Thank you all for watching, and we will have the next semi-final game this Sunday. Definitely looking forward to that.